Go ahead.
Hello and welcome to the Culture of Care interview series, where we ask the experts some questions to help educators thrive and implement new strategies into their practice. I am Sierra Jackson, one of the care coaches, and today we have joining us Cole Chance from Cole Chance Yoga. Thank you so
Hello.
much for
Hello.
joining us today. So first, Cole,
Absolutely.
yeah, we really appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule just to chat with us. And I would just like to kick this off with asking, would you please introduce yourself and share a little bit about your history?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Cole Chance, and I have been teaching yoga for about 7, 8 years now, I believe. And I came to yoga in a different way than some people do, but I took my first yoga class in a drug and alcohol treatment center about 8 years ago, and that really the juxtaposition of where I was and then what I was introduced to was such a key for my healing. And I knew right away that I wanted to learn how to share this with other people. So I do work in the addiction quadrant, but then I also teach on YouTube, and I really try to make yoga inclusive. I believe in its healing potential for such a vast array of things, and I just try to get that out there as much as possible. Currently living in Australia, but I'm from the States. I came to Australia, got in the day before they closed their borders down earlier this year. So I've actually created a home here now. So silver lining, COVID silver lining.
Absolutely. That's quite the journey. So thank you for sharing that with us. Um,
Yeah.
as you know, we work with education systems across our region. So before we jump into the yoga questions, I was curious if you have a memorable or a special teacher that touched you, and just tell us a little bit why that teacher was memorable for you.
It was interesting whenever I was interesting thinking about this. I moved a lot whenever I really moved a lot every year or two. So I don't remember my teachers' names like so many people do. Like they have this one teacher that they remember so clearly because they've had for so long. And I don't have that, but I have several teachers, and I can kind of tell a personality type, I guess, that stands out, like a threaded personality type. And it's teachers who challenged me. And what I remember is that they were teachers that I really got along with, but then we also had a little bit of like them pushing. Like there was a little bit of like them pushing me a little bit farther, but I always knew that it was through love. Like I always knew that they had my back, but then also they were pushing me. And it was this kind of relationship that we had that I think was really beautiful, that I can see modeled in some of my close relationships now with friends and stuff. That kind of the supporting, but also really encouraging. Like, I have to think about that a little bit more, but that that feeling of being supported but also challenged.
That's great. It sounds like they created a that safety that you needed to be able to take those risks and challenges and held those expectations for you, but you always had that relationship to fall back on. Is that what
Yeah.
I'm hearing? Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So our teachers have experienced many students with social and behavioral challenges. And we're really expecting that, especially after COVID and with our kiddos having been out of school for almost 10 months now, it could potentially be getting worse. So how do you think that including yoga in the classrooms and school systems could impact students?
Well, I think that so much of yoga has to do with being able to regulate ourselves, being able to use our breath, being able to use awareness, to come back into a window of tolerance or a homeostasis. to be able to sense whenever we're getting, too agitated or too kind of checking out, which normally feels like an autopilot. So I think yoga really brings in some tools to bring awareness to that, like noticing the breath, noticing the sensations in the body. And I feel like that's such a gift to be able to be aware of those cues that our body is giving us in a world where we're not really taught that in a lot of places. So I think that would be really beneficial to help people realize that, and students realize that, and teachers.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely say my own experience. I can tell a difference when I use either mindfulness or breathing activities, just in my awareness of my own self and where my feelings are at. And a lot of times it seems like my body already knows it ahead of time. It's just tuning into that.
Yeah, the bodies do know ahead of time.
They
We're
do.
catching up.
They do. We just got to listen to them. So if a teacher wishes to get started including yoga into their classes, how do you recommend they begin?
I think that the noticing of the breath, and it's so much about noticing and seeing what things feel like, lots of invitational language, like, why don't we try this and see what this feels, or maybe you try this and see what it feels. And I think with the breath, and then bringing in some simple movements, just to, and I don't know what would be, without knowing the exact display of the scene and the students, but taking breaks, taking movement breaks, a little lunch, like a lunch break. I have some videos that are like lunch break yoga, or like something like really encouraging, like take a break, just like a 10-minute timeout, or like a yoga timeout, or something to introduce little bits, and just knowing that the little bits can do a lot. So kind of just inviting in those spaces. I'm trying to remember the different wording that we used it back in school. What do you all use now in terms of like taking a break?
Well, so one of the strategies right now is brain breaks. That's one of the things they do. Dr. Bruce Perry also, he's one of the forefront minds, the flat ones who's he's an expert in the field of child development and trauma. And he talks about dosing, so taking little bits during the day. That's in context of relationships, but definitely brain breaks, I think, would be the most commonly, that would be common language, I think, across the educational systems. So
yeah, I think that you could really implement like the brain break, even with a little mindfulness exercise, like noticing the five senses. Maybe closing your eyes and noticing what you hear. And then closing your eyes and noticing what you feel. Like, are you hot? Are you cold? It's just kind of like an investigation. Let's have like an inner investigation, and try to, find some words that make it match the students' intrigue.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. Now, we also know we have teachers who are now behind computers significant amounts of time, more so than they used to be. What would be your top 5 stretches you would recommend for teachers to start doing today to ease the strain of computer time?
I think some of my favorite ones are kind of the upper body, that in some of the videos I feel like you could do in the computer, the neck and shoulder ones. But one of my favorites is just the bringing the ear to the shoulder and bringing the opposite hand here. You can see it out. I kind of push the heel of the hand out. So this opens up this whole line here, and you can adjust. So then you get to find your own, maybe it's a little this way or a little this way, but then you're in control of that. You can also move this arm around. So you have these variables of moving the head and moving the arm. And if you do not feel something there, then let me know what your secret is. That is always a really big release for me. And then practicing staying whenever you find that area of tension, and breathing there. And that helps the body, the body saying, oh, this hurts. And you're like, no, you're safe. So that's kind of hitting that, that sympathetic parasympathetic relationship. I think you can kind of see here. This is a really nice one, just coming to the wall kind of as close as you can, and pressing the hand into the wall, and then I can twist. You can do this in a doorway. So this is opening up this whole side here, which is delicious. So this is a modification of a pose that you do on the floor often, but this works just as well right here. Ugh. And then anything behind the back as well. So it'll be different levels. So you can grab the hands behind the back. You can grab the elbows. And every time you do this, you're wanting to roll the shoulders back, like imagining that you're squeezing an orange between your shoulder blades. You may have seen people do like this reverse prayer. So any of that is opening up the front body.
All I can say is I'm following along, and oh, holy moly, I love
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, some of them are so easy and just like so effective. So interlacing the hands here, and then you can just go over. Go over the back is a really good one. That one rings out the shoulders. And let's see. I think, yes, we'll do eagle pose. So this one, it's just one arm over the other. You can grab opposite elbows. You can also interlace the hands with the backs of the hands or the fronts of the hands. So you can do either, or you can grab the elbows. So just like we just squeeze the scapula together, this time it's stretching it. So what can be really nice is to get in whatever position, and then you arch. I just got to pop there, and then curl. So it's kind of like cat-cow, if anyone's ever done cat-cow in yoga, but you're doing it with the hands connected, and then that stretches the back of the body. So I think that's 5. And I think all of those you can do. I just did it from my chair. So.
Yeah, those are all great. And I could definitely say for myself, I've used those from some of your videos, and to borrow your term, they're definitely delicious, especially the eagle pose with the intertwined hands. But I also loved how with the first stretch that you started doing, when it's out and you feel that little bit of strain, or you may feel that little bit of pressure or pain or just discomfort, and your body going, this hurts. And then you almost having like a conversation with your body being like, no, you're safe. And I think I find that really valuable. So those are great. Thank you for sharing those with us. Mm-hmm. You also have, and I know we've already mentioned them, you have some pretty stinking awesome YouTube videos. Do you have some videos on your channel you'd recommend for our teachers or for use in their classrooms?
Well, there's so many different styles, but depending on the age and the students that you have, if you're wanting, like there's gentle, if you're wanting something that is more relaxed, there is it's called Feel Good Floor Flow, which is just, it's kind of like a little flow, but you're kind of staying on the ground as well. There are some deep stretch videos, and those are all on the ground as well. So it's kind of dependent on what energy that you're wanting. Some of the shorter morning yoga classes, that'll be a little bit more energizing. And then there's some that are like lunch break yoga, and those are all fairly short and kind of like just a little boost, a little movement boost. So it really depends on what you're looking for. If you're wanting to bring people down or like a relaxation time, there's some 15-minute yin videos that would really kind of settle people down if maybe, the energy was frenetic. So it really depends on the energy that you're wanting to explore or to shift or to match.
Those are great. And I'll definitely make sure that we include that in one of our toolkits we're doing for yoga in the classroom. So absolutely. I appreciate those recommendations. Cole, if educators want to more know about you, where should they go?
To colechanceyoga.com, and all the things are on there.
Perfect. So, nice and succinct.
Yep, it makes it easy. All there. Cole Chance Yoga.
Good. All right. Well, before we close out, is there anything else you want to add? Anything that may have come up you want to hit on quickly?
No, I don't think so. I think that I guess the one thing I would say is that not to underestimate the power of regulation, I suppose, like how contagious that is in a good way and in a bad way. But, depending on how much that we're regulated, like how much these little kiddos really pick up on that, on the calmness and the safety, or however that our system is handling things. And I feel that yoga is just such a gift for that. And sometimes we think of it as like a self-care practice, and it is a self-care practice, but it's really a community care practice, because whatever I'm doing here is rippling out. And that definitely absolutely goes for y'all teachers. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think that message in and of itself is so important for us to take hold of, in the fact that regulation is a community practice at times. So thank you.
Yes.
And yeah, this was a wonderful conversation. And once again, I just thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy, and we know that for a lot of us, time is just a limited resource. So we appreciate you sharing your gift of your time and just giving some knowledge and wisdom for our teachers to use to continue navigating these ever-changing times. So to the rest of our community, please support Cole by checking out her website. And from there, you'll be able to find her videos on YouTube to use during your lunch breaks, or to incorporate some of those practices into brain breaks, or whatever is going to serve you best. So thank you again, and have a wonderful day.